there. This is Real Talk Baseball. I'm Carlos Bateman. With me always is Ernie Orange. And there's a third screen on here if you guys can see. If you're on Spotify, of course you can't. But I'm going to go ahead and introduce him. He's a big-time LA native. He's a huge Dodger fan. He has a podcast. Of course, he has some greats on there like Joe Davis, Tim Neverett, and Tim Katz from AM 70 Talk Radio, from Dodger Talk. He has a podcast called MikedUpPod. He is Mike Gabriel. How's it going, Mike?
Dude, what an intro and the song, the dance. Come on, man. I'm already a lover of baseball. You guys got me really fired up now.
Dope, man. Dope. How's it going, guys? I don't know if it's been sunny for you guys. It's been really electrifying outside. The sun rays hitting. It's not raining anymore. We've been getting rain every Saturday, Sunday. For the past 2 weeks, we've been okay, right?
Yeah, it's going great out here in Long Beach. I'm happy to have you here, Mike, with us, talk some baseball, and share some of your Dodger history knowledge with us.
Thanks, amazing. Man. I appreciate you guys having me on. I really do.
Cool. All right. Well, the first question, man, and I think everybody on here wants to know, how long have you been doing the podcast and how long have you been a Dodger fan for sure?
Yeah. The podcast started as a sports podcast, and it was way back when podcasting was cool. It was like in 2007 or 2008. And it was a website called nowlive.com. And nowlive.com would essentially do what you guys are doing here on YouTube, but it was for just podcasters. And you would interact with people commenting, and you're going back and forth with them. And it was every Wednesday night we did it for 2 hours, 7 to 9 p.m. And we were interacting with people, and talking. And we're talking about all kinds of sports, everything. All the major
from basketball, football, baseball, everything.
And we'd have people on. We'd have people in the studio. It was two of my buddies. We had an absolute blast. That website went down, and I stopped doing podcasting, and I kind of got over it. I don't know if you guys ever saw the show on Channel 4, Fred Rogan. He had a show called The Choice. And The Choice was the show that he had every Sunday or Saturday, and it was the Fred Rogan show, whatever. And they were talking sports, and he'd have columnists on and analysts on. And I competed in that thing, right? It was on Channel 4. I went in the Channel 4 studio, NBC studio. I met Fred Rogan. The whole thing was an unbelievable experience. There was like maybe 70, 75 people competing. I got down to the final four. I lost to this punk-ass kid, this arrogant-ass kid from SC, and this typical USC boy. And I was fired up. I was pissed. And so the producer came up to me, and he knew I was fuming at the time. He came up to me and he goes, "Mike, I am, we loved you. Like, we loved everything about you." And I completely choked. That kid caught me off guard. Every time I answered a question and I agreed with him, but tried to further his points, he came back with, "Oh, I'm happy you agree with me, Mike. I'm happy you agree with me." And he totally caught me off guard. He wasn't like that in the green room at all, right? And so the producer was telling me, "Hey, we're going to have you back. We're going to get you on the show, even as a guest." And I was like, "Dude, don't blow smoke up my ass. If you're not, it's okay." No. We're going to. Well, guess what? He never did, right? Typical Hollywood story. So, But what he did say was, hopefully you get your podcast back and get that rolling again, because it's been a couple years. And I took that and I said, you know what? I'm going to do that. So now the podcast is essentially, you get older, you want to learn more things in life. You want to get, you kind of want to sharpen your edges a bit. And that's, for me, that's what kind of happened to me. I just want to grow. I want to get better. I want to become a better human being. I want to connect with people. I wouldn't be on this show probably if I wasn't connected on a podcast. This is fun, man. And so I didn't go to college. I barely have a high school diploma. And me, for my life, it's just hard knocks, school of hard knocks. How do I learn from other people's experiences? How do I get better? How do they do it? And, because I think one day I'll be in that scenario one day, possibly. So let me try to figure that out. Let me try to do it, if somebody goes down that road. And so my guests have been like vast. They've been all over the place: health and wellness, politics, sports. And it's interesting subjects, interesting people. You come on my show, everybody has a story. More times than not, some other stories are better than others. And so that's what I'm searching for, just good people and good stories.
Dude, I noticed that you said a life learner. Like you like to learn about other things, not just sports. I mean, you did say that on one of your podcasts that you love sports, and without sports, it's kind of like, okay, but there's more to it, right? And you just said it like a life learner. Like you learn about, other things, politics, and whether a lot of people don't like to talk about that, but still, you still hit it, you still talk about it. It's the conversation, you get it going. And, one of the things that I saw on one of your podcasts, and it was pretty cool because I was like, oh, it's motivating me, like it's getting me up started. Like we have this show going for 4 years. Ernie joined the show last year, so like it's just going, and we're just learning as we're going, right? And then we don't ever say, oh, we made it. No, because you're still learning as you're going, right? And that's the interesting and fun part about it. So my question to you right now, and like it's a sports question and a Dodger question, of course, is
Mhm.
do you feel that if the Dodgers and Padres are are a rivalry right now, like, and it's okay, whatever you decide it is, and I'll give you my thoughts, of course.
I think that the Padres want it to be a rivalry.
Yes.
They don't have much of a storied franchise, and you can tell because there's a lot of anger with their players and their fans, and they want nothing less than to just beat the Dodgers all the time. And they found
Yeah,
out about that when they put that. I don't know if you guys remember, but they put that Kershaw thing up on the board last
yeah,
year when they beat Kershaw, and then the Dodgers just spanked them after that.
yeah.
Um,
I
I
remember that.
I here, you know why we're talking about this and it being a rivalry, why it's even a question is because the Giants have been so bad in the last 10 years. They've
That's
had
true.
one good season, and that was a couple years ago when they won 100 games or whatever it was, and they lost to the Dodgers in the playoffs. But if the Giants were good, this conversation wouldn't be happening. So I blame the Giants for it. And always,
Yeah,
and
always.
rivalries are good. There's nothing wrong with a rivalry, but you got to win championships. You got to beat them in the playoffs. And the Padres took it to the Dodgers a couple of years ago. Don't get me wrong. They took it to them, and they deserve that series. But a Padre Dodger rivalry, I think it's starting to trend. I think there's a little bit of heat because the Padres got some really good players over there, really good players, and so do the Dodgers. So yes, I think it's a beginning of a rivalry. I don't think it's necessarily a rivalry yet because Dodger fans don't really care about the Padres. So both fan bases really have to care. The Dodgers still care about the Giants as bad as they've been, and the Giants hate the Dodgers, and because the Dodgers have been so good in the last 10 or 11 years. The Padres hate the Dodgers because they've been so good, and they're trying so hard to be a rival. And it's like it's one of those things where you don't try as much because you don't care, and they want it even more. And I think
Yeah.
that's what's happening in San Diego rather than LA. And we don't really care about the Padres.
That's true. I was just kind of hearing, okay, so Manny Machado always does good against the Dodgers. Like the only image I remember of Manny Machado with the Dodgers is striking out in the 2018 World Series. So for that one, and then in Drew Darvish, he didn't perform as well. If he would have performed like he did yesterday in Game 7 of the World Series, then I would have been like, oh man, amazing. He's a good pitcher. Don't get me wrong. And the Padres have been good for the past, I want to say 5 years now. Like it's been 5 years that they've been really good. It's just they can't make it to the playoffs. So me adding to that, I just want to say that if the Dodgers and Padres meet in the playoffs more often, of course it would be a rivalry. And I mean, your thoughts, Ernie?
Oh man, you know what? I already see it as a rivalry, guys. As an Angels fan, just seeing it from the outside, the playoff game intensity games in a regular season, I'm all for it. I'm all for this intense games in May. You know what I mean? It feels like we're in October, but in reality we're in May, and these Padre players are just playing at another level, and they want to beat the heck out of the Dodgers, which is amazing. As
They
an
do.
outsider watching from the outside, seeing all the Dodger fans going into Padre Stadium, breaking the record for home attendance, that's just amazing. That just tells you that Dodger fans also want to beat the Padres. And there's some tension and rivalry there. Ever since Manny Machado left the Dodgers, that tension has been at another level that we've ever seen it. I'm glad for it. I mean, if you think about it, it's a 2-hour drive. Why not have a rivalry? Yes, they don't have a long history with the Padres, obviously, but they're on their way. Adrian Peller's doing their moves. They're building a good roster there. They're putting a competitive roster, better than the Giants, if you ask me. And they're competing. So is it a rivalry? It's on its way, but it's coming.
It's on its way. Yeah, it's
I
on its
agree.
way. And then the go ahead, Mike.
No, and I agree with Preller too. I think he's doing a really good job. He's surrounding that team with some really good players. I don't know much about his manager. I don't know if I like that move or not, but I like what he's doing with his roster for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And the Dodgers are playing the Giants today, and we should kind of be watching that. That's a rivalry, right? You got a question, Ernie?
Well, so if anybody doesn't know, but Mike is actually a season ticket holder, third generation since 1962, right? You want to explain a little bit about that for us listeners out there?
Yeah, 1962. My grandfather bought 12 tickets at the time in 1962, and it was mostly for our clients. He'd give a lot of tickets away. Obviously, he's not going to a lot of them games. It was more of like a marketing piece. And today we own 4 tickets. They're behind home plate in the field level, and I'm telling you, man, it is something that I will never, ever, ever give up. As long as I'm alive, and I hope it's a generational thing. And I won't tell the Dodgers that because they continue to raise our prices, and so I don't want them thinking I love it too much, But there's something about summer, and there's something about Dodger Stadium, and I can be in a really bad mood, guys. I'm telling you, and I show up to my parking lot, and I just look at the stadium from the outside. I walk into the stadium, and it's just magical to me. It's my favorite place by far. I love that place. It could always put me in the best mood.
Wow, nice. I love that because I was gonna ask you what's your favorite stadium, but you already said it. Is there a second best stadium for you?
I walked into Fenway Park and I thought I was on a movie set. I could not believe the energy. This is the time the Dodgers played them 5 years ago and something like that. And you guys, it was so magical. The Red Sox were like 14 or 15 games out of first place. Wow. The place was packed. You walked in with energy. These dudes are playing the drums. They're playing musical instruments. It's just a fun environment, Fenway Park. So I stood up, and I don't know if you guys saw the movie Fever Pitch or not, but it's one of my favorite movies, right? Yeah. So it was that area right there where they were sitting, where Drew Barrymore got hit by the foul ball. And I'm standing in that area, and I hear the guy calling for peanuts, and the peanut vendor. And I'm like, holy dude, I'm on the set of Fever Pitch right now. Like, I can't believe I'm here. I'm at Fenway Park. And that's got to be my second favorite park. I went to Wrigley Field. I think the weather in Chicago can be hit and miss. And we went in May, and the weather wasn't that great. It was really windy, and I think that could interrupt the experience a little bit. But I'd say my third favorite would be Wrigley Field. Yeah, go ahead.
Nice. No. Go ahead, Ernie.
I just know, since you've been a season ticket holder and you've been there a lot of times to Dodger Stadium, what's your most memorable moment at Dodger Stadium? Like the most and more memorable game, I will say.
Yeah, that's a great question. I've probably been to over 1,000 games at Dodger Stadium throughout my life. That's
more than me. That's more than me for sure.
There's been a ton of great experiences. I tell you what, early on, something about that Max Scherzer first start that he had, where he was at Dodger Stadium, and I think he threw like 8 scoreless, and we gave him a standing ovation, a curtain call. Something about that game, it was the energy. The other game that comes to mind is the Manny Ramirez game. When Ned Colletti traded for him on August the 31st, and he came and play. You guys, even World Series games didn't match the energy when Manny Ramirez was in the place, because you walked into the stadium and the energy in that place was absolutely unmatched. It wasn't even World Series, Matt. I'm telling you. And he hit a ground ball to Alex Centron, the shortstop, and he beat it out for a base hit. And that place absolutely erupted. And he never did that in Boston. And Manny went on an absolute tear, right? The rest of the story is we all know about it. And then I think the Justin Turner home run in I think it was the DS against John Lackey of the Chicago Cubs. He hit that.
I was there.
Were you?
Yeah. One of the best ones I've been to. Yeah, for sure.
I'm probably still there because I was out of that parking lot. It took me about 5.5 hours to get out of that parking lot. I feel like I'm still there. one thing about Dodger Stadium, you got to know how to time it. You got to know how to time to get there. You got to know how to time to leave. And I've got that perfected. But a playoff game is different. You can't, you got to, in a tie game in the ninth inning, you ain't going nowhere. You're in your seat. And so he hit that ball, and John Lackey wasn't very good. It was latter part of his career. He hit that ball to dead center field, and I was like, oh my God, this is happening. And I'd say that might be number one because of just the place. It was just a playoff environment, and the place just erupted. Yeah.
And that happened in 2017, if I'm correct, right?
Sounds right.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Okay, since we're in 2017, and I gotta ask this question because you are a Dodger fan, does it still hurt, that cheating scandal that happened in 2017?
Of course. Yeah. You're talking about the Astros?
The Astros, of course. You have a podcast on it as well.
I do. I had one of the guys on at Houston.
Yeah.
That's right, man.
Yeah.
God, yeah, he was a nice guy. I should have taken it to him, but he was a great guy. He really was a nice guy. He actually kind of admitted, like how we felt about all of it. Man, turn the pages and just pretend like it happened to you guys. It's not a great feeling. Listen, as much as the Astros cheated, I won't forget the Marvin Gonzalez home run against Kenley Jansen in the ninth inning. Okay.
Yeah, game two.
Dodgers had a chance to go up 2-0 in that series.
Yeah.
And if they did, they can go to Houston and maybe, win a game, come back home and just win one game. I think it's a little bit harder to cheat on the road, which I'm sure they know how to figure. I'm sure they know how to do it, but I think it's a little bit more difficult to do it on the road. It hurts. It hurts a lot. And then they're talking about even Boston. Boston was kind of going through some of those scandals too, with Alex Cora being over there, right? And so Dodgers got screwed, man. It really hurts. And then listen, 2020, I'm gonna say it. I don't think that's a true World Series. You play 60 games. Yeah, I think everybody else plays 60 games. Everybody's under the same environment. I get that. Everybody shows up to the same park. I get that. But 60 games compared to 162, it's not the same. So that 2020 World Series doesn't satisfy me. Yes, they won the World Series in the record books, but I think that World Series deserves an asterisk for sure.
I agree. And I think we're waiting for the real one so we can get a parade and get all the stuff that we didn't get in 2020. We do have a question. So did you ever get to see Barry Bonds, and what was the tension like?
Yeah, I saw Barry Bonds a couple times. His head and neck were absolutely huge. It didn't matter where you were sitting in the stadium, you saw how big that guy's neck and head was. Bonds was a different creature, as we know. That guy was on a different level, and we know why. I mean, I've never been on steroids, but they say that your eyesight and your superhuman, you feel like you're superhuman, while you're on it. And so the ball looks really big, looks like a balloon, and your strength is on a different level. So you're probably hitting the ball another 30 to 40 feet. So warning track turns into a home run in the fifth row, right? It's a big difference. I saw Barry Bonds hit a home run at Angel Stadium in the World Series. I left early off the freeway. I saw the ball fly when I was on the freeway, dude. I was listening to the game at the eighth inning. Yeah. Top of the eighth. And I just happened to look at you can see the stadium off the 5. I looked at the stadium. I said, dude, the ball's there's the ball right there. The ball's traveling. And then a little bit of delay. I was like, holy crap, Barry Bonds. I saw ball travel on the freeway. Like, that guy is superhuman, dude. Like, what is happening? Everybody knew. I mean, you compare his rookie card to the last year he played. I saw his record breaker at Circuit City at the time, buying a TV. Oh, it was the worst. I didn't want to experience it, right? So I'm walking to Circuit City. Imagine that. I walk into Circuit City and there's TVs everywhere. I'm in the TV area and every single TV had the game on. So I had no choice but to watch it, dude. I walk in this place and they're showing him hit this bomb. And I was like, I left my house so I don't see this. I walk into Circuit City and I run into Barry Bonds' record breaker.
What I remember from Barry Bonds and like him stepping into that plate, you knew he was going to do something. Every time he stepped into that plate, it was scary. Dodger Stadium, whatever stadium it was at. And I remember because I was 7? I don't remember what age I was. I think I was 17 when the 2002 World Series happened. He would just step into that plate and you kind of already know that he was going to go against Percival. You better not get anybody on, because then he's going to hit that home run. Ernie, dude, you remember, you're an Angels fan, like,
really
right?
do.
So you remember those moments. And me as a Dodger fan, like, who do I root for? I'm not going to root for no Giant, of course. Right. So I remember him stepping into that plate, and man, it was always scary, super scary to see this man play. But then again, it kind of asked that question, and we've asked these questions a lot of time. Did we overlook him being the best player at the time? I mean, we kind of looked at he was on steroids and all that stuff. That was a big cloud hanging over his head, right? But at the same time, that we just went away from like thinking he was the best player at the time and possibly of all time. He has the home run record, right? And I mean, the question for you is, does he belong in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, it's a great question. And there's so many different people that you can ask this question to. And it's on both sides. It's not only hitters, it's pitchers too, right? Curt Schilling and Roger Clemens are two that come to mind right away. Eric Gagne, as ridiculous, as filthy as that guy was, I mean, he was on it too. So, and there was a ton of players who never got caught, and nobody ever knew about it. The game the game wasn't as great of a shape than it was. And Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa kind of brought things back. And that's why I think, in my opinion, that's why Bud Selig at the time, the commissioner, didn't worry about any of that stuff. He knew what was going on, but attendance is down, viewership is down, sponsorship and ads are down. I got to get this game back. And it did. It helped the game.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's really hard, because I go back and forth with that, because, you're using something to help you do, play a sport, and you're doing it. You're cheating, right? Because you know what you're doing, and you're cheating while doing it. But at the other side, there's pitchers who are doing it too. So you're going up against a guy who's using the same substance as you are as a hitter. I think that these players would have been in the Hall of Fame no matter what, because they just knew how to hit the baseball. Just like Manny Ramirez, just like Mark McGwire, and Barry Bonds. And on the other side, Roger Clemens was one of the best pitchers ever. Curt Schilling, one of the best pitchers ever. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you they wouldn't be one of the best if they weren't on the juice. I think the juice kind of just extended their careers. So I say yes. I say they all deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, because they're just great ass players. Just know the game.
Yeah. Man, I have really fond memories of Bonds stepping into the play in Dodger Stadium. The tension of Dodger fans was insane. People would boo the heck out of Bonds when he stepped up to the plate. Even though we knew it was going to be gone, people didn't care, and we would say Barry Bonds sucks, and it didn't stop to the whole at-bat finish.
Yeah. Indeed, especially the pavilion, man. Let me tell you, that pavilion is a special place. I absolutely love the pavilion. Those guys always they heckle the crap out of the visiting players, especially Bonds. I remember a beach ball syringe that they would throw on the field from the pavilion. Those dudes are the best, man. They're so awesome.
I remember that, and I think it happened to Tatis recently too. They threw a syringe somewhere out there, and I believe it happened in San Francisco. So we did it to the Giants. They did it to the Padres. So what's next, right? Who's the next one?
Los Angeles, man. We're just the creators of it all, That's what we do.
True. So we do have our own chant, though. I mean, if you're doing something right and everybody's hating you, you create their own chant. We have the Beat LA, which is dope, because sometimes I do hate hearing it, and it's like, I don't know. Sometimes I just feel like, it's getting to me. But then after you realize, like, man, we're the only team out there that has their own chant, Beat LA, and it's not just in baseball; it's in basketball. It's I believe it's even in football. So it's happening everywhere. So I think we're the only ones that have a chant, and that's cool, I guess. Or does that irritate you when you hear that, Beat LA?
I absolutely love it. I'm with you, man. I absolutely love it, because you're totally on point. You're doing something right. When people boo you or hate you, that means they're envy of you. You're doing something they want to do. It's very easy to hate LA. I mean, the weather's always great. There's good-looking people everywhere, and we win. We win a lot. We've won in the past, and the history is winning. And what gets me the most, though, are the San Francisco 49er fans who root for the Dodgers, and they're in the crowd chanting "Beat LA." And even the Padre fans. You're telling me the Padre fans aren't Laker fans, but they're chanting "Beat LA" to the Dodgers? That I don't understand. Like that I don't get. Seasons are not different, sports are not like that. That doesn't make any sense to me at all.
I got saved. I'm a Niner fan, but I root for the Angels, so I got saved.
Yeah.
Tell me you were an Angel fan and a 49er fan before you guys invited me on the podcast.
You're good. You're good. It happens. It happens. That's a good thing. So Ozzy has, did you throw back foul balls from the Padres or Giants come to our stadium? So did you ever catch a home run or foul, anything that has to do with the Padres Giants, and did you throw it back? Do you feel like that's a tradition that we have in LA, or should we just keep that in Chicago?
You know, I think there's some angry home runs that deserve to be thrown back. But listen, man, if you're going to catch a historic home run, I say you take one with you and you put the one that you caught in your pants and make sure that everybody thinks you're throwing the home run ball back, because you'd be an idiot if you're throwing back a home run ball that you can make some money on or meet a player and get some memorabilia back for. You can't do that. But if it's some dude that, some minor leaguer hit a home run, Padres or the Giants, throw that thing back, man. Throw that thing back.
Yeah, for sure. Ernie, you got any other questions?
Well, talking about meeting someone, there is a podcast episode of Mike the Pod where you talk about tribute, about your experience meeting the one and great Vin Scully. How was that experience and how that happened?
He was having it was at the Pasadena Civic Center, and he was having kind of like a sit down with Tim Cates, actually, at 570, like you mentioned earlier. And it was Tim Cates hosting the show, and it was at the Civic Center. But it was like another $100 or $75 to meet him prior to him going on stage. And so that's been a bucket list moment for me. Any opportunity that I can meet Vin Scully, it's going to happen. Like this, Vin Scully is my guy. So I texted a couple of my buddies. And I said, hey guys, he's going to be at the Pasadena Civic Center. It's another $75 to meet the guy. I'll pay for it. I'm not gonna wait till your answers. I'll pay for it. Figure it out later. We're gonna meet him. And they're like, you got to be kidding me. I was like, yeah. So we're standing in line, and here he comes. I mean, he's like godly, man. He's just, you don't believe how close you are to him, and he walked by in line, and I usually don't pause. I usually don't freeze, and he's walking like this, and hello everybody, and he's got his little assistant with him, and they're walking by, and then he comes over and he's now meeting everybody, and he's shaking hands and taking pictures with them. And I was like, oh my God, man, I'm like 2 people away now. So I go up to him and I shake his hand, and he's got a great grip, and he points to the camera, and we're smiling, and I looked at, and I had the cheesiest smile on my face. and he goes, and I said, Vin, I just want to tell you, man, you've changed my life, like for the better. Like you've done so much for my life. You have no idea. Oh, is that right? Is that right? Like he doesn't care, but he's making you feel really good about it. And that's what Vin was, right? He was on the broadcast, made you feel really good about it. You felt like he was just sitting in the room with you, telling you stories. He was like your grandfather, he's sitting on your lap, he's sitting on his lap, and he's just telling you baseball stories and life stories. There's nobody, I don't care what anybody says, there's nobody ever to do it better than Vin Scully. Not even close. There's been amazing broadcaster, Chick Hearn, Bob Miller, and a lot around the country. But Vin Scully, the way he did it is just a classy guy. Never got into trouble. Always dressed right. His hair was always perfect. I mean, there's certain things about that, you got to really take that into account. And that's what made him so great. And to me, he was just a perfect human being.
Dude, so it was like when I heard that he passed away, I teared up. Why? Yeah. Because it was one of the things that was at your house. He might not even know you, but you felt like you knew him. You felt like he was part of your family, because every time at 7:00 you would turn on the TV, you would hear his voice, and it'll just be like it's a summer day, and it's Los Angeles. So when he passed, it was really, really like this. It was hurting. I think LA was hurting because I was the voice of LA, and you said it like he was just like, I don't know, part of the family, part of the TV, part of the programming, you're part of your day. basically, and a really nice gentleman. He was from the Brooklyn days, came to LA, and he did what he did, and that's kind of why we're doing this, right? We're doing the podcast because we used to hear his voice, and we kind of wanted to mimic that and say, you know what, he can do it, but he did it the best way anybody can do it. And I'm really appreciative actually of hearing his voice. Whenever I hear it, I'm like, oh, Vin Scully, I know who he is. Even my kids know who he is, and they didn't even get a long time to hear him, but they know who he is. So that's a really good topic right there. Another one, you did meet Joe Davis, and you met him, and you had a podcast with him. How was that experience?
He's a great guy, man. Joe Davis. When I talked to him, it was like we were friends for a really long time. It was a super easy interview. He was super cool. I told him the story behind the season seats and how my family had seats forever, and I'd be forever grateful, if he could come on the show. And dude, he got back to me right away. And that was one of my favorite episodes actually, because we edited that thing, I think, perfectly, because at the end I had like 5 of his great calls. And I tell you what, if something about Joe Davis, he's got a great voice. He calls a great game. He's one of the best walk-off play-by-play announcers I've seen in a really long time. And you can't prep for that because you don't know which player is coming up and what situation is going to come up. That dude is, he is a true pro's pro, and he can call any game, any sport. Joe Davis is as impressive as it comes. At the time I asked him, I says, man, you've done everything. You're like 30 years old. What do you got to look forward to? And he says, that's a great question. He said, but it's probably going to be the World Series. I've done everything else. I've called Super Bowls, but the World Series. And then a couple of years after that, he called the World Series because Joe Buck retired, and he was the next guy in charge. So yeah, super cool.
Nice. And I did hear the episode. If you guys want to hear it, go to MikedUpPod and subscribe. He's on Spotify, any podcast platform, right, Mike? So
Absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead and promote it too. If you need to say that here, put it on the message boards for people to start following you, start, clicking that follow, because that's what it's all about. We network with podcasters and we get this going. We're a lot of baseball fans out there, and it's kind of cool when we have this little group, because we start knowing a lot of more people. You start connecting to people, and you start meeting like people that have made it all the way to the top and interviewing people like this. So this is really special to us, Mike. We really appreciate it, dude. Ernie, you got any more questions for Mike?
Yeah, definitely. So I wanted to talk about your Mount Rushmore of Dodger players, since you're a huge Dodger fan. I know, as all the listeners here probably tuning in right now are a lot of Dodger fans, as I can see here, are freaking listeners, and I know they're big Dodger fans. So I want to know, who are your Mount Rushmore of Dodgers players?
Ooh. That's a great question. That's a very good question. God, there's a serious history of Dodger baseball. I got to go with Tommy Lasorda being one. I think he's a staple to the Dodgers. I think he's a face of the Dodgers. I think he's a face of baseball when he was alive. Legends don't die. We know that. They just you tell stories, and they're just always around. He's one of those guys. Vin Scully is another one. I think Vin has to be Mount Rushmore. He is. Well, we talked about him. We know how great he is. I think Fernando Valenzuela is another one. What he's done to the Hispanic community for the Dodgers, what that run that he made when he was pitching, and he's still around doing some broadcasting. I think he deserves to be on the Mount Rushmore. And I got to go to, Jackie Robinson, of course, is another one. It's hard for me to, people talk about Sandy Koufax, and I can't respond to that because I didn't experience it. So I have to watch games. I got to be at games. Like I have to really watch these players for me to say that, look, don't take anything, Sandy Koufax is one of the greatest ever, but I can't tell you that because I don't watch it. All I can see is videos, and that's all I can say. But I think the fourth would be Clayton Kershaw. Clayton Kershaw is it would be the fourth guy on the Mount Rushmore for sure.
Nice.
Yeah. That's a nice list. You think Kershaw's going to retire LA Dodger?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think he would have left a couple years ago if he had the chance. Him and the GM there, Chris Young, were friends as kids, and they're really close and tight. I think it broke his heart when Kershaw told him no, he's come back to LA. I believe that he will be a Dodger for the rest of his life. There's no way. I think his arm is going to fall off probably this year or next year, and he won't have a chance for a guy to retire. I think he's probably going to hang it up at the end of the year or the next year. But yeah, I don't think he's going to Texas.
He loves life in Manhattan Beach, Carlos. Come on. Why would he want to leave?
I don't want him to leave. I want him to retire as a LA Dodger, man. I love Kershaw, dude.
Can I tell you a Clayton Kershaw story?
Yeah, tell us. Yeah, go for it.
So I'm meeting two of my buddies at one of our favorite restaurants, right? And so I'm running like 5 minutes late, and they text me in a group chat, "Hey, dude, Clayton Kershaw is 2 booths over from us. You better hurry your ass up." And I'm like, "Whatever, dude. You're trying to get me there earlier. Calm down. It's not a funny joke." And he's like, No. He's here. I was like, "All right, send me a picture." He sends me a picture. He's sitting there with Ellen, his wife. And I was like, holy shit. So now I'm starting to get nervous. I'm starting to sweat. My knees are weak. My palms are sweaty. I was like, oh my gosh, dude, Clayton Kershaw. And I have to pass him to go to our table. So I have to go up the ramp and pass him, right? So here I come. And there's Clayton Kershaw. I'm checking my hair in my mirror before I get there. And I'm
well, you got to look good, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Idol, right? Growing up, one of my favorite players. And so it's a Thursday. The Dodgers are in Arizona. The team's in Arizona. Kershaw is not pitching in the series, so he was able to stay back to have dinner with his wife, and he's going to fly out the next morning and meet him there. And I go to him, and they're looking at me like, "What are you going to do?" So I tap him on the shoulder, and I say, "Clayton." He's like, "Whoa, hey, he's a dork, he's a geeky guy, awesome human being, like one of the best." He's like, "Hey, hey." I was like, "Dude, I just want to thank you, man." I was like, "You're just the best. Everything you do on the field, off the field, you're just an awesome human being." And I'm looking over at his wife, and she is pissed. She's like, "Dude, I get 1 day a month with this guy, and you're going to interrupt us. Like, nobody knows who he is, and you're going to interrupt our dinner right now." So, like, look over to her, and I was like, "Oh, shit, I better keep this quick." They got a bottle of wine. He's eating a big fat cow, And so I head back to the table, and I'm, like, sweating. And they're like, "Dude, what?" I was like, "I'm buying his dinner. I'm buying his dinner." And they're like, "What?" I was like, I'm buying his dinner." And they're like, "Dude, you're going to buy his dinner? He makes like $30 million a year." I was like, who cares how much he makes? Imagine this story. I meet him, I buy his dinner, the receipt comes, and he is going to come and thank us. Okay. And all I'm going to ask him is sign my receipt. I collect some memorabilia.
Yeah.
That would be the greatest piece of memorabilia I had ever owned. Those asshole friends talked me out of it.
Oh
no.
Not only would he have signed that receipt, dude, we would have been like holding hands in the sunshine, headed to Dodger Stadium. We would have been friends, man. And they talked me out of it. I was so pissed thinking about that. So any opportunity I run into any type of athlete that I look up to, I'm not hesitating. I'm buying the dinner. Because they deserve it, man. They're awesome ass guys. If they deserve it, if there's some athletes that I don't like and I won't even say hi to, but there's a lot of them. That guy like Clayton Kershaw, man, you had an opportunity to do that. I screwed up big time.
Damn, I would have pumped you up and like, do it.
Like halfway through the meal, it's like, okay, they got 2 bottles of wine. He's got some steak. I was like, it's gonna be a lot, but it's okay. It's worth it.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you got to shake his hand, but his wife is a little mad. So you kind of like, let me make up for it. So I would have told you, let's do it. I would have helped you out. Like, hey, you know what? Let's go halves on it. I'm down to do that. Like,
right?
Definitely, dude. Like, why not? So we got another question here from a subscriber. So they're saying, what are your thoughts on Dave Roberts and what has he done for the team? So I'm guessing, are you okay with the way that he's coaching the team right now?
So one of my buddies actually supplies Walker Buehler with some jewelry, right? And so we were able to go down. One of the assistants grabbed us from the loge level in the family section. We went down and met Walker Buehler after the game. He got us a signed bat, some balls, like super cool dude. But we're in this section, this area where we should not have been. Like we're like looking around and like Dodgers are passing by and we're like, dude, we should not be here. Like, we're pretending, right? Alana Rizzo was right behind me. She was like storming into the clubhouse. All the reporters storming in the clubhouse. I mean, we could have probably walked in the clubhouse if we wanted to. So why I bring this story up is because Dave Roberts was walking out with the guys, and now we're in an elevator with Russell Martin, Matt Beattie at the time, Chris Taylor, Bellinger, like all these dudes in an elevator, and it's me, my two buddies, and we're like, oh, this is pretty cool. And so we go down to the family section, and here comes Dave Roberts, and he's got his little backpack, and he's walking to the car, and he's like, he's trying to be one of the guys. You know, he's like, hey, come on, boy. Hey, that was a great hit tonight. Yeah, great tonight. Yeah. Bellinger. Oh man, what a shot, huh? Oh yeah, we'll get him tomorrow, boys. We'll get him tomorrow. Yes. And I'm like, this is kind of weird, man. Like I feel like he's trying too hard, you know, to like be one of them.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it. It didn't come off. I like the energy, but it didn't come off right. I feel like, dude, you're the manager. Like, chill out a little bit. You know, you don't need to be one of them once in a while, take them to dinner, like in Chicago or something. That's cool. But like, just chill out a bit. I hate the way he manages the bullpen, especially in the postseason. I don't know if that's tailored to the front office telling him what to do, but I'll tell you what, being a manager in any league at any level is not easy, especially managing personalities. And the Dodgers have some personalities, and I think it's actually worse in the past, but I think they've got a decent clubhouse. But keeping all that together and coexisting and keeping a good, a good clubhouse together is not easy to do. And I think he's doing a good job at that. I really do. I think he's doing a good job at that. But he's kind of a clown, you know. He's just a geek. He's kind of a geeky guy. I don't know if everybody likes him, but I think he's okay. The second question would be, if you get rid of him, who are you going to bring in, right? And I got two guys in mind. I got two guys actually. One would be Joe Madden, because I'm a fan of his. I know Ernie probably likes him. I think he's great with big personalities. And the second would be when Justin Turner retires. I think Justin Turner would be a great manager. That would be my two candidates. But for now, I think Roberts does okay. He's got to make it up in the postseason for sure with his mismanaging of the bullpen.
I agree. And taking Rich Hill out in 2019, I believe, it hurt us bad. And I don't think he was going out there to take him out, but he did take him out. And yeah, you're right. Him going out to get the bullpen and bringing in pieces in, it really, really destroyed our chances of winning World Series, playoff series. And I think that's where everybody's kind of like, man, when is he going to get it right? You know, and it could be the front office. It could be him mismanaging the pitching, but whatever it is, he needs to fix it by this year or next year, or he's going to be in the hot seat. And everybody's already talking about it. So, Joe Madden.
I mean, and players perform, you know. Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman won for whatever they were, 14, 15. You know, the only hit was an infield single by Freddie, who had to leg it out somehow. I mean, that is pathetic, dude. That is pathetic. And that just cannot happen as a Major League Baseball players who are really good during the season and look really bad in the postseason. That just can't happen. You know, that just can't happen. So I think the acquisition of Shohei Ohtani is really going to help kind of ease things in that lineup. I'm sure Ernie loved when the Dodgers signed Shohei Ohtani. I'm sure that really fired him up.
It really did. I saw it coming way before, you know, so I was not upset like every other Angel fan, but it's part of the game. I saw the organization, the way things are being ran in Angel Stadium. There was no way the guy was going to stick around his whole career just like Trout. He was not doing that. He was going to go to a team that was going to be able to improve and market himself even better.
That's right. He wanted a big market. He wanted a team, I think, early on, like the Angels, who a team needed him. So he kind of like brought them onto the map and got some exposure. And then after that was Yankees, Dodgers. I want a big market team, make a lot of money. You know, I'll tell you, Artie Moreno, I hope he owns that team forever, because I think they're going to be really bad when he owns that team. And I don't know if he's just bad luck, but on the field at every level, single A, double A, triple A, major leagues, they're all bad. They're all equally bad.
Worse.
Yeah. And it is really hard. If you're an Angel fan, man, it's a long summer. Like that's a long summer, man. That's so rough, dude. Have you thought of jumping ship and like going somewhere else?
No, I have not. I think I'll stick around with Angels my whole life, but I still support the Dodgers. I'm an LA native here. Me and Carlos actually grew up in the city of Compton, and we no longer live there now. But I'm still a true Angel fan. I still support the game of baseball. But that's how baseball is, man. It's about ups and downs. It teaches you things about life. And what are your life lessons you think this the game of baseball does for you? Like, what does it teach us?
I think sports in general, it's up and down. Baseball is so mental. You can go 3 for 10 and you can, for your life, and you can be a Hall of Famer. Imagine going 3 for 10 at whatever job you're at, 3 for 10. You'd be written up several times. You'd be fired how many times? You wouldn't be able to hold a job. 3 for 10, right? So how do you keep the stuff that's in between the brain sane? How do you do that? And baseball, the mental aspect, man. And I've got 6 nephews. Most of them play baseball. And I've got a nephew through my wife's nephew that we've been following baseball, and he loves the game. And I said, dude, as long as you love the game and you love practicing and playing, I said, you're going to be okay, because that's half the battle. And then the mental aspect, he'll have a tough game and he'll just say, I suck. I'm not good. But you gotta find the positives in it, and you gotta somehow let it go. And that in life is not perfect. We know that it's a roller coaster. It goes up and down, peaks and valleys. And so when you're going through it, man, baseball is such a life lesson, right? You hit the ball 110 off the bat, but this dude makes a diving play at second base and throws you out at first base. It should have been a hit. You can get a blooper to left field, and it's a line drive in the papers. And it's like, how did I not get my prior at bat? But I get this blooper that's 65 off my bat, like punching Judy, and it all equals the same way. And so that's how life goes. Sometimes it's better be lucky than good, and you take it, like you said, Ernie. Baseball is high and low. You have to appreciate when it's high in all sports in life. Take advantage of it. Don't take for granted when things are good, things are high, things are feeling good, dude. Keep going. And then when you're down, remember the times you're up, because you're going to get right back up there, and our generation being down is completely normal, man. If you're down once, it's like the most normal whatever we are generation in the world. Don't you ever think that you're not going to come out of it. You're going to come out of it. You just got to give yourself some time, give yourself some patience, do the things that get you out of it. But remember the times you're up, that you were feeling good, because those are the times that you're going to come, when you're down, you'll be right back up.
Man, those are nice words, man. Thank you for telling us all that. That's amazing. Because sometimes, like you feel like, oh, I got to do a podcast today. And not this one, of course. We were like, I was pumped since we got you. We're like, oh, we're going to get him on the show. Dope. But cat. Like there's some times that are like, you're like, oh, we're going to get on. And me and Ernie like are going over the notes and we're going to do it. And then once you're doing it, you're like, pumped, you're ready to go. You start talking baseball, people start commenting, and that's what makes it really, really cool. Like, so you've been doing the podcast for quite some time, and we really appreciate you coming on, like taking time. It's not easy. I know you have other commitments you have, and you spending time with us, we really appreciate that for sure. I do want to ask you one last question before we log off, and I'm pretty sure Ernie will have one more, but do you feel like the Dodgers are going to trade someone else for that lineup? And someone that comes to mind is Nolan Arenado. Do you think that would happen?
Well, I think if you're going to trade Nolan Arenado, it's going to be for Max Muncy and a package of some kids, which I'm fine, I'm completely fine with. I think anybody would be fine with. Arenado had a lot of opportunities to be a Dodger. He was able to opt out of his contract when Max Muncy's contract was up, and he didn't, which was confusing. And I thought he would.
Yeah,
he's a cowboy. He talks about the times he played wiffle ball in LA. He grew up a Dodger fan. So I would love to see Arenado. He's an amazing third baseman, and he hits the ball pretty well. But I don't think it's going to happen this season. If it does happen, and I don't know if it's ever going to happen, to be honest with you, because okay. I think they really like Max Muncy. I think they like his contract, and that extension that he signed this last year was very team friendly for a guy who can hit 30 home runs a year. I don't think it's unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen. Dodgers have always surprised everybody. They're very tight and very quiet about their business, which is extremely impressive with the way Twitter is and how reporters report things. They keep stuff in-house very, very well. So would it surprise you if they get Arenado? Not really, but I don't think they will. I think they're going to probably go if they can get a Bo Bichette or a Willie Adames and play shortstop. I think they'd go that route. And I think they're in need of a reliever. It's early on in the year, of course. There's a lot of guys on the IL on the bullpen side, but I don't think you could ever be short bullpen arms. So I think they'd go that route. I think they'd go shortstop or bullpen.
Cool. Ernie?
Well, I just want to thank Mike for coming onto the show. And I just have one question. Have you ever had a sports podcast before? Because the way you're talking sports, man, it's like you know your stuff.
Yeah. It was on that nowlive.com. We were doing it live from 7 to 9 p.m. and we would interact with guys like you guys, like you're doing here. And that website went down, nowlive.com. It went down. And so we stopped doing it. And then I went into the real life stories, just trying to get better, trying to get wiser, just be a better human being. There's a lot of hate, a lot of angry people out there, and people go through experiences. All of us, you guys have probably tremendous stories, and somebody can learn from your stories. And for me, I worry about one person, because if I can get one person to listen, one person to help, that one person guaranteed will tell somebody else. It always happens, and it's a domino effect. And so if I'm helping one person, I have a chance to help 10, 100, 1,000. And it's worked. It's worked because I just try to fetch good ass people, man. I love good ass people. That's all I care about. So
Nice. Well, you're welcome whenever you want to come to our show, Talk Baseball. We even have the fantasy show we do on Thursdays. You can come to that if you play fantasy baseball. We would love to have you on again. We can talk baseball. We can talk about current news whenever it happens. Could probably do something after the All-Star break when the playoffs are about to start, getting super heat up. So we can do that. If you guys haven't done so, go ahead and subscribe to his channel. He is MikedUpPod. You can have him on Spotify. Any podcast platform has him. He can even go to Instagram and look for him, and you can message him. He has a lot of interesting photos, everything. Look it up. I looked it up, and I was like, man, I was like really when I was looking at your picture, I'm like, man, you got to meet a lot of people. That's dope. Like when I saw the picture with Vin Scully, I even messaged you. I'm like, you met Vin Scully? Like, really? That's dope. So like, we love your stories on here. I mean, let's do it again if we can. I'll love that.
I would love it, man. I would love that. And by the way, I want to mention your comment section here. You've got some good people. They're all positive people. They just want to talk baseball. There's no hatred, no anger. This is how. Imagine if life was like this all the time. Imagine if people were like this all the time. How great the world would be. So you guys have created a really good group of people, and it's going to continue to grow. Just do it on a consistent basis. And I tell you what, meet up at Dodger Stadium or Angel Stadium and get this group of people to meet you guys. If it's 2 people, 5 people, 10 people, 20, it doesn't matter. Just get a roll call of people, get some tickets together, meet these guys, man. You got a really cool group going here.
Cool. Thank you. Well, we reached that point in time. We got to go ahead and log out, and we appreciate Mike Gabriel coming on the show. So from all of us here at Real Talk Baseball and Colors Baseball, this is Ernie Orange and Mike Gabriel signing out.